First rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
I have one simple request, and that is to have sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads. Now, evidently, my cycloptic colleague informs me that that can't be done. Can you remind me what I pay you people for? Honestly, throw me a bone here.
Fear not, because we will have sharks before the show is done. Actually, I have no clue if we're really going to have any sharks. I just thought I'd go ahead and bring it up because you have to work off the material that you have. Some comics do that, and they do it real well. Oh, wait, I'll get to that a little bit later on. That'll be fun. Hi, once again, everybody. I'm Ed Berliner. Welcome in to the brand new, spanking, unbelievably, incredibly wonderful, and gee, you can't live without it show, The Free-For-All. We call it Free-For-All. Why? Because it's free-for-all. Anything goes. It doesn't make a difference. We don't set things. We don't set topics. We don't even ask people if they're really able to speak or not. We just go ahead and I book them, we put them on a camera, and we let them go, which is really frightening. Wait until we get into the later stages of doing this show and some of the people who show up here. That's scary. You're watching us live if you are across YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. If you are on those social media pages, you may text, and I'll be able to see it. Whether or not we use it depends on what you say and how interesting our conversation is, because frankly, we're really interesting. So it might not take any time at all. This goes to show that I've learned my lesson over the years, not taking phone calls in live shows, because it's dangerous. That's why everybody uses text these days, and talk shows aren't very good. Anyway, this one's really good. So hang tight, sit around here, enjoy it. Be part of it if you'd like. Don't forget that when the show is over, it will be posted on YouTube and it'll be up on all of the various audio podcast platforms. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope everybody left a $20 bill at the front door. My first guest knows exactly what that's like, because every now and then he hears these words. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's showtime.
It's showtime! It's showtime, everybody! Showtime!
Hey, people, it's showtime!
All right, everybody, it's showtime.
All right, everybody, it's showtime!
Now take your position. It's showtime.
Hey, heads up, everybody! It's showtime!
Oh, it's time!
All right, ladies, buckle up. It's showtime.
Here we go, showtime.
Okay, fellas. Showtime. Okay, it's showtime!
It is indeed, so let's go ahead and get to it on this edition of the Free-For-All. And I mentioned someone who knows all about what it means to make sure that somebody has paid their admission at the door. At least you certainly hope at some point. He is an old friend. I learned again that, remember, when you have a comic on the show, don't try to keep up with him. It really won't be difficult in this case. People in South Florida know him because he had... See, I can see his face off to the side before I bring him on. That's the joy of doing this kind of production. Those people who lived in South Florida, you know Bojangles. Bojangles was a legendary club, which was the place where everybody went. Everybody knew your name. It really was the Cheers before there was Cheers. He has appeared in Las Vegas. He has appeared across the country. He has thrown his wit, wisdom, and mirth at cruise ships and people who are there, because he actually gets them not to pay attention to the buffet, and that's the best part of it all. It is a pleasure to welcome in, because every day we have a comic on the show, because you got to laugh at America. And this doesn't mean, when I say professional comic, having an elected official on board. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Gene Marola joins us on the show today. Gino!
Wow. I got older just listening to that intro. Gosh, if you don't mind, the first thing I would like to talk about is Fight Club.
I'm not there yet. You're not there yet.
I want to talk about Fight Club.
Introductions.
I want to talk about Fight Club.
You can't talk about Fight Club. Don't you pay attention?
How about rule number 3? Okay, talk about Fight Club.
Oh, if this is the way it's going to go, it's going to be an absolutely frightening show. Trust me.
Boy, did you audition for Casper the Friendly Ghost? I think you would make it. You could do this. No kidding.
I did not, but I am a guy who does not spend a lot of time in the sun. Dude, red hair does that for you. You know that.
And your hair, it looks real.
Thank you.
It looks.
It
I mean,
is. Look,
as a matter of fact,
and
you
my
go in the
next guest
forest.
will attest to it because he was there 20 years ago when he saw the hair live in person in Boston, Massachusetts on Sports Pulse. So there, it's
If
real
you
and
go
it's
in the
wonderful.
woods, if
It's
you go in
real
the
and it's
woods,
wonderful.
they're gonna think that's in season and shoot your head off. I tell you, don't put a tail on that, Davy Boone.
A reminder that a little bit later on we'll have a really great guest. Peter Golenbach is going to join us. Peter has written more great baseball books than any author in America. He has a brand new book coming out very soon about Ted Williams. So Peter is going to join us here halfway through the show as our special guest, so make sure you stick around for that. My other panelist guest today is another old friend. I won't use so many olds because he's not. He's younger than me, and I can't let him get away with that too much. When we were doing a show called Sports Pulse on the Comcast network in Boston, Massachusetts, he was the guy that I brought in to talk hockey, and it was a beginning of a great friendship. He now does hockey for Boston Hockey Now, where you can read his work there. Nobody knows hockey better. Nobody knows the NHL better. And quite frankly, nobody knows how to wear a real old-time fashioned New England hat better than he. Live from Boston Garden, ladies and gentlemen, or close if you will, Jimmy Murphy joins us on the show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, man. How about you?
It's another day in paradise, and I had to, if we're going to have you on the show, I had to make sure that we at least put you in Boston Garden, which I'll probably get sued for, but
No, I do it all the time.
By the way, that's what exactly do they, for people who are watching us on video, what do they call that hat?
A scally cap.
A scally cap. I never, after
Yep.
all, I never knew that.
LLY at the end.
My grandfather wore one of those too, so I never really knew it. So,
Yeah,
so
as
there
did
you
mine.
go.
My
So, ladies
father.
and gentlemen, there they are, the man without a hat, the man with a hat. It is the beginning of the free-for-all here on this edition. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, usually, gentlemen, remembering that this show is a complete mess in so many ways, but we don't set topics. It's non-censored. Say anything, do anything, because remember, it's you. It's going to be up forever if you say it or do it. I say that to Gene because I know what's happened in the past. But that's the kind of show that this is. You can talk about anything. I usually have, and again, I came really ill prepared because I usually have a coin flip here at the top to go ahead and start this. So here I'm gonna fake a coin flip. This is really for people to see that.
How low budget is this, Jimmy? Come on.
Here's
the guy
the budget
can't
on
afford
this
a
show,
penny,
everybody.
a penny, a
This is-
coin,
Can't even
a
get a
penny.
penny.
This is not even a coin. This is a chip for camera pictures and photos.
Why
the
don't you
secrets
let
to the
Jimmy
world
flip
are-
it?
Why
Why don't
that's
you let
heads,
Jimmy flip a coin? Jimmy's got a coin.
that's
got a
tail.
coin.
Shut up! It's my show. I get to do this. All right, heads and
Well,
tails.
how else would you get to do it?
So- well, thank you very much. It's the only way I get the gig anymore. Is making it up myself. Don't you know that from experience?
Bingo!
All right, so Jimmy, your first scene is you're the farthest away from the control room here. I'll give you the shot. Heads or tails?
Heads.
Heads or tails? Okay, flips, and it is a heads, ladies and gentlemen, on the Master Micro card. Jimmy Murphy from Boston Hockey Now. My old friend in hockey doesn't necessarily have to talk hockey. That's the way we are. First thing on your mind, you get the first shot. Go.
The Tampa Bay Lightning need to grow up.
Why?
Why? I mean, act like you've been there before. And, oh, that's right. You were there like not even a year ago, but you act like a bunch of frat boys with the Stanley Cup, and one of your best players puts on an absolute disgrace of a press conference, embarrasses himself, embarrasses the team, I don't know if the team's embarrassed because they keep acting like this, but embarrasses the league, embarrasses the Stanley Cup. And frankly, you're trying to grow the game and get new fans, and you let a guy go up there who I think was a little more than just drunk, because I don't know many hockey players that get drunk off 2 beers.
Okay, who are you talking about? For the people out there who are not hockey fans, who are you talking about?
Nikita Kucherov.
Okay.
Yeah, and his
And what did he do? And what did he do that's so bad? Because look, a guy just won the Stanley Cup again, and you and I both know that hockey players and all athletes are basically grown-up children. So if the guy does something a little foolish and goes a little crazy, who cares? It's a Stanley Cup.
I mean, Ed, because I respect your show, I won't say exactly what he said because I don't know what kind of trouble we can get in. But
I won't look. Hey, look, I don't get in any trouble here because what will happen eventually, I tell everybody, and I'm going to put a big disclaimer on the bottom of this show. What the guests say is theirs because I don't censor anybody. And if anybody is offended by language, then you need to find another show because we
He went
speak frankly here.
F-bomb after F-bomb. But what got me was, why take the time when you just like you said, be happy, celebrate that you won the Stanley Cup. Why are you going out of your way to call out a fan base who has basically just been let out? Remember, Canada's behind us in COVID restrictions. The vaccines got rolled out later there. Montreal, literally, as the playoffs went on, as their team went through the Cup run, literally took next stages through their, release from COVID restrictions there, and they get to the Stanley Cup final, and, rightfully so, they're excited. It's a great hockey town, maybe the best in the world. They haven't been there in 28 years. Tampa was just there last year. So, let these guys rejoice. So what if they celebrated when they beat you in overtime in Game 4?
But what did he say that was so bad?
He called them out for
it.
What do you mean? What he called the city out for celebrating. He said, "Oh, they acted like they won the Stanley Cup over one win." So what?
Okay, so he's a sore winner in your case, and he didn't need to do
I think
that.
He's a very sore winner, and then they follow this up with taking the Stanley Cup. And look, I know all the stories of the Stanley Cup, and I know stories that haven't been printed, stories that I'm not allowed to tell.
And about the Stanley Cup
too. Nothing I've heard has been as despicable as what happened at that Stanley Cup yesterday. They have never had a dent. I know the keeper of the cup.
Wait.
They have never had a dent that big in the Stanley Cup. And that's because there's too many dents in the heads of the Stanley Cup Lightning.
Whoa.
Hang on, wait a minute now, because, okay, so for people then who don't know, what happened yesterday? Because we're doing the show on Tuesday, July 13th. What happened
so
on
yesterday
Monday?
the Tampa Bay Lightning had their, boat. By the way, steal a little from Boston. Don't be original or anything. Boat parade, duck boat parade. But they think they're the new title town, but they're not.
Well, they are.
Let's see how many. 17 championships for the Celtics, 6 for the Bruins.
Come on. They've won 2 straight Stanley Cups, and they've got an NFL championship.
Talk to me in double digits. Then you can call yourself Title Town or Champa, whatever they call it. Champa Bay.
You're such an old-time original 6 guy. Okay, what happened to the Cup?
So yesterday they're partying around with the Cup, and they decided it's going to be a bright idea to throw it from boat to boat. And they really, really badly dent.
But didn't they do that last year?
And I'm sorry, you're right. I am Original 6. I am a traditionalist, and I treasure the Stanley Cup. I have the utmost respect for it. I was lucky enough to be able to put my baby daughter in it 10 years ago, and to me, it symbolizes the game, and you just got to show a little more respect. If you party and you slip like Michael Ryder did, and it gets a little dent in her, a little scratch, so be it. But they're just basically saying this thing means nothing to us. It's just a prop.
But wait a minute. Okay, hang on a second. I'm going to let Gene in here in a minute, too, because Gene's a sports fan as well. But the Stanley Cup is notorious for players who win the Cup to go out and do really stupid things with it, take it to bad dates, take it to dinner, pee in it. Come on. There have been guys who have peed in the Stanley Cup before, and you know that to be true.
Yes, and they're morons. They're the ones that are morons, too. I'm not going to not call them out either. I'm straight lining this. Don't worry. But let me tell you, I had somebody call me from the 1970s Bruins team, the 2 teams that won the Cup in 1970 and 1972, a very well-known player that I'm not allowed to say right now. And he said the exact thing that I did, an absolute disgrace. Who do these little pompous frat boys think they are? Those were his words. So, I'll take his view over the general view of a society now that just sort of cheers this frat boy mentality on and has lost respect for the most prestigious trophy in sports.
All right, so let me bring Gene in here because Gene's much more of a baseball fan than anything else. Gene, I don't even know. Have you ever been to a hockey game?
Yes, I have. I have several, as a matter
Rangers?
of fact. No, as a matter of fact. But I went to the Stanley Cup game where the Panthers played Edmonton. Was it? Who they played?
No, Avalanche. The Avalanche.
Avalanche, I beg your pardon.
Yep.
But weren't they formerly Edmonton?
No, they were formerly Quebec City.
Oh, see, okay, I stand corrected, and I don't know Jimmy, and Jimmy and I we're going to get along.
Yeah, we're getting along.
I wish you luck in your paper route. It's a great hat, and and I'm a little confused. I heard what you said, your description of what you said, and I know how much. When you say you're upset with the guy denting, he dented the Stanley, and I understand somebody from Boston being upset with Bucky Dent, And I get that. I totally get that. But I was impressed with the guy who maybe I heard it wrong. Did somebody actually pee in the Stanley Cup and dented it? Is that what happened? I'm impressed by that guy.
I believe Ed was bringing a comparison to other things that have happened in the Stanley Cup and saying in the past somebody had peed in it. I wasn't covering the game then, so I don't remember that. I don't know which year that was. I definitely believe it. A lot of crazy things
but
happen.
I mean, there have been, and by the way, I do have, Kathy Reed is watching the show right now, and she goes, okay, you guys lost me. Peeing in the Stanley Cup. I'm going to leave you guys to this. So we've already lost one viewer, so now we're down to one. But but no, I mean, I get what you're saying, but stuff like this happens all the time.
Yeah. Well, Ed, look, I'm going to give you a good story, and you know what? And it kind of shows where you're coming from. It kind of shows where I'm coming from.
Okay.
But, so when the Bruins won the Stanley Cup in the 2011, I can't believe it's been 10 years, Ed, huh?
Yeah, no fooling.
It's Maddie's 10th birthday yesterday too. She was the Stanley Cup baby.
Happy birthday, Maddie!
Happy birthday!
Thank you. But so I'm at Mark Recchi's cup party, guys. About 2 months, maybe 3 months after they win it in Boston, he had this nice little Italian restaurant. And after everybody eats, we move over to the bar and we're having a couple drinks, and they bring the cup in, and everybody's going to get a chance to take a picture with it. And if you want, you can drink out of it too. They're going to hold it up, tilt it up, and let you drink out of it. I mean, it was an amazing experience. So at the time, I have a friend with me, and she just had a little too much to drink. And so she's going up to go, and as she's
what
walking
an absolute shocker. Jimmy's with somebody who had too much to drink. Oh, boy.
Yeah, and a blonde from Montreal. But anyways.
That's his place.
Yep. So there we go. She goes to grab it, and as she goes to grab it,
and the cup
one spot where the carpet was, it just ended. And there was all beer and wine and champagne and everything that everybody had been drinking had been pouring into one spot. And she kind of stepped too far. And when she went to grab it, she went vertical. And the cup went with her. And we all went and saved the cup, and we let her go. So this is how important the Stanley Cup is. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
What's your point?
Wow. I'm just showing you how we valued the Stanley Cup more than
and you're right. And by the way, let's not forget that right here in the studio,
there you go.
Ed has his cup. So yes, I do value the cup, although I cannot say that there hasn't been a shot or two that's past that cup. Okay,
James.
So Jimmy's
Ed,
up on the Stanley Cup.
Excuse me, Ed. Excuse me, buddy. If you rub that, it'll get bigger.
And the cup too. So there you go. All right, so Jimmy's got his cup in here, and Gene's got his cup, and that's another story altogether because at his age, Gene's cup is entirely different. So, Mr. Marola.
Wow. If I could have heard you, I'd be pissed off.
Oh, it's a tough room. What's on your mind there, Gino? You're up next.
Well, listen, I do have a bit of a history with a hockey player. I met I think
Hold it. Don't do it. Because I'm going to give Jimmy a chance here. Jimmy, I want you to go ahead and identify this player for those of you watching, because Gene had his picture taken with a player, and the player was probably, I don't know if the player knew who he was taking the picture with, and that was going to go viral one day.
No.
So here you go. All right. Identify that, Jim.
That would be Martin Brodeur.
There you go. See?
I couldn't tell from the front or the back who it was.
The guy in the back's a lot more good looking, though.
Well,
whoa, Jimmy, you are older than I thought.
Wow, look at this! And all of a sudden, we have one of the panelists now who's sucking up to the other panelists. Very nice. After just having met him, very nice.
Yeah, Jimmy, I think you and I don't need Ed. Or as you refer to him, we don't need what's his name.
Okay, Marola, go.
Go ahead.
What's on your mind?
Why would a guy name himself after a erectile dysfunction? I mean, really, ED. I feel so sorry for his hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us today with Steve Marola. See, and the beauty for those of you watching, I control this sucker. If at the end of the day, if it really turns into it, guess what? It can actually be just the Ed and Jimmy show. We can go from there.
That's what you need. Jimmy and
Gene's great.
Jimmy and a soft Jimmy
Well,
and the
come on.
soft dick.
Peter
All right.
Goldenbach's going to join us in a little while here as our special
All
guest
right.
here, which everybody get to talk to. So go ahead, Gene. With
So
Jimmy at the Stanley Cup, what's on your clock today?
I am a big fan of baseball, as Ed mentioned. Did you guys watch the home run derby last night?
No.
I saw the
Oh, it's
highlights. I
too
didn't
bad.
watch it live, but I heard it was fun.
It was fun to me to see fans in the stands and people having fun, and the way
Yeah.
baseball. I remember baseball. I was very spoiled growing up in New York. We had the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Yankees, and I hate to bring that up to you guys, about the Yankees and home run derby with Aaron Boone, and stuff like that. I won't mention those names to you.
Hey, Gene.
So,
Gene.
yes,
Gene,
sure.
2004.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's one. You want to count double figures? Didn't Jimmy talk about double figures? Did Jimmy talk about double figures? Are there double figures in there? What's a double digit? What's a double digit? This is a tough one. I know. Look it up. Google it. Double digit.
It is. I went to private school. I have no idea about math. Okay.
Right. Jimmy went to general school.
So back on to baseball now in the home run derby.
Back
What's
on
your
the
point?
baseball, yeah.
Yeah, I was excited about it. I love this kid Ohtani. He's fantastic. He's doing stuff that nobody did since Babe Ruth. And I saw a headline on the paper the other day. Ohtani is not Babe Ruth. He's better than Babe Ruth. This guy is incredible. I think what we need is an infusion of enthusiasm. You're talking about wanting to grow the sport in hockey. I think baseball needs. I think all sports need a little bit of resurgence and excitement, and this kid is providing that at a great level. And that brings us to another point that, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about that conversation we had earlier about Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith. I realized that A stands for asshole. He is so consistently inappropriate, and he's a coward. As a matter of fact, from what you told me earlier, he's already walked back what he said, or tried to walk back what he said.
Well, yeah, it's the sorry, no sorry, and I think coward is mild at this point. Stephen A. Smith is a race baiter. He constantly throws race and sexism into what he talks about. He's not knowledgeable at all about sports. He pretends to be 99% of the time. The guy's a punk, because what he's doing is he's creating controversy by lighting a fire. And for those people who aren't aware of what Stephen A. Smith said, he basically intimated that, and this kid Shohei Ohtani, who's just an incredible athlete to watch, he's a starting pitcher and a home run hitter, and that's why people are talking about him being the next Babe Ruth. But he comes in and basically says because he doesn't speak English and needs an interpreter, he can't be the face of American baseball. Stunning bullshit. And again, it is xenophobic from start to finish. Number one, the guy does speak English. Ohtani speaks English. If you saw a 60 Minutes piece that they did with him, when he's comfortable, he speaks it. But a lot of players are not comfortable because of the nuances that get lost. And they don't want to fumble. And the Japanese players are very much like that. The Asian players are like that. They respect the game. But Stephen A. Smith should be fired immediately. ESPN doesn't have a male member to hang it on if they don't fire this guy now. He has done this before. So that's the biggest thing that I have, working off what you said. I mean, I sat on a Clubhouse show today, and people were excoriating Stephen A. Smith up and down. And I think it's time we got rid of him. Wait a minute. But see, here's the other thing. We're sitting here talking about this clown right now. And that's what ESPN wants, because they want us to drive more people to listen to his show. So if you're going to talk about this, talk about it in a positive light. Cripes, are you kidding? The people in Southern California are more lit up about baseball now than they've been in a long time. The entire country's talking about Ohtani.
Yeah.
And I don't care. I don't care if he's mute. He deserves what he gets, and the guy's an amazing talent. I mean, that's really all. And I don't watch Stephen A. Smith. I only see what he passes, what kind of bile and what kind of bovine excrement walks out of his maw every now and then. And if I miss him every day, and if he doesn't say anything and I don't pay attention, I feel like my day is just fine.
I want to ask both of you guys something, and I'm not trying to poke fun at your age. It's just that you were in a more
Sure you are.
when you got to watch him in his prime, or when he played baseball, you guys were more in a.
No, wait a minute.
critical
Before you go any
line.
farther, no, Gene's the one who saw Babe Ruth in his prime.
No,
I did
no.
not.
Okay. So here's where I'm going at. Bo Jackson. Is he the most exciting maybe even pro athlete since Bo Jackson?
I think that's an interesting comparison.
I just
and
remember Bo Jackson as a kid, watching him hit home runs and make fancy plays, but I didn't really watch him carefully enough to give you an answer to that question. So that's why I just want to talk to people that maybe saw him more in a critical element.
I remember watching. I went to a spring training game, and I was so juiced because I got to see Bo Jackson play, and that was he was an amazing player. He had, I think, maybe a couple more tools than this kid. But the Ohtani thing, being a pitcher,
yeah,
and they baby the pitcher in baseball. Why can't a pitcher bunt? I mean, it's so simple. It's a simple thing. Let a guy bunt. Come on, little leaguers know how to hold the bat, so they and that kind of thing. But this kid is a DH. He is a DH when he's pitching.
He's a freak of nature. Is really what he is in any athletic sense. Jimmy, I mean, I saw Bo Jackson play, and to me, it was a novelty more than anything else. That's how I treated it because I always saw him as a football player. Was he a baseball player? Sure. I mean, he was incredible, speed and power. But if you take what Ohtani does, and I think what sets him apart is what Gene mentioned. He's a pitcher, and he strikes people out. This is a guy who in Japan goes complete games. He goes 9 innings and also at the plate. Granted, it won't last forever, but I don't care if it lasts 10 minutes or 10 years. I think he's brilliant to watch. I would say that he's much more advanced than Bo Jackson was.
Okay. He's leading off, and tonight's game, he's leading off. He's batting first.
It's impossible to even talk about. That's the thing that catches me. Why are we looking for fault? And why is this bozo?
I'm glad Gene brought up that baseball needed this, because I was thinking the same thing. Just watching, I'm watching baseball more again this year. I've noticed that, and I haven't been able to say that for even the year the Red Sox won the World Series last. Bill, was it 2018? 2018, I didn't even watch it that much. But now I find myself getting drawn back in, and one of the main reasons is Ohtani.
I got to tell you also, if you don't mind, excuse me, being a Yankee fan, and I hate the Red Sox, but I always have respected the players. I'm so sorry you guys lost Mookie Betts. I think he's a fantastic player.
It's Betts, Betts, Betts.
But he is the best.
He is the best.
He's the best. Eddie loses the comic aspect of my show.
Well, I miss all the comic lines because I've been talking to you for 20 years. So.
Thank you very much. For a guy that tall, you would think. And what was your second baseman for the Red Sox for a long time? This little
Dustin
guy.
Pedroia? Oh, Pedroia. Pedroia, yeah.
Pedroia, but I love so many guys on your team, and quite frankly, when guys like Clemens and Boggs came over to the Yankees, I never considered them anything but Red Sox players.
I've heard that before.
I've
heard other Yankee fans say that.
But see, and I guess that's part of the point. Working off what you said, Gene, is if we're going to talk about a game and an athlete, why is it that we have to have these clowns, these knuckleheads, these morons, these idiots, quite frankly, who all they have to do in order to and I'm going to answer my own question here, in order to create conversation is talk down, insult somebody, find fault with them. Because having done talk shows for a billion years, that's what people respond to. If you talk to people and say, this kid Ohtani is amazing, is he better than Babe Ruth? Look at the home runs he's hit. The phone lines and the ratings will drop off like a stone. But if you then come up and say that the guy can't speak English, and that's why he's never going to be the face of American baseball, bang, just like that, you're going to have people who will be calling, writing, social media. We are, as a society, desperate to see great athletes fail.
And celebrities as well. As I have
Celebrities
to
too, yeah.
put that in there. Yeah. And my favorite, if I may, one of my favorite sports shows these days, the Pardon the Interruption with Tony and Mike. I love that show. The Pardon the Interruption on ESPN. They do a great. They're very fair and they're articulate. By the way, in their summation of their point, they don't go for the jugular. If it's deserved, but they are very fair. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with those guys. Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with them. I wasn't great fans of them. By the way, we should point out that Peter has joined us, but Peter, I know that because this is a live show, I know you can hear me, but Peter, I cannot see you. So if you need to, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect Peter, and I want you to reset because I cannot see your camera. So I want you to go ahead and take care of that. But he'll join us here momentarily. That's what happens. But again, it's this whole we want to hate first before we admire, and I don't understand that. I mean, you would think that now, specifically in the need that we have in this society anymore, just to have something good to talk about, that we want to talk about something good. Why is that? I mean, it happens in hockey. It happens in basketball. All we want to do is knock down players. I don't get it.
I don't know who they are, but they seem to enjoy it.
Well,
I don't.
A lot of it is
personally.
the social media trolls, the idiots, the commentators.
Don't even start me there. Yeah.
Well, but it is the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, the Max Kellermans of the world, the individuals, and the only reason they're hired is to create contrived controversy. I've used that phrase for dozens of years because that's what drives ratings. Look, Stephen A. Smith comes back in today and apologizes. It was a sorry, no sorry on Ohtani. He doesn't give a crap. I mean, ESPN will probably in the back say, hey, Stephen, just calm it down. We got to suspend you again. But holy crap, look at the ratings.
Yep.
I think certain guys come along. Excuse me, Eddie, but certain guys come along at the right time. I think what Jimmy was talking about, it's the right time for Ohtani right now for to help baseball. And hockey has had its guy, and basketball has had its guys, and golf. I love the golf guys right now. The young guys, 150 pounds hitting at 400 yards. I mean, this is crazy. These guys are so big, and then no, not so big actually. And then you got the other guy who's eating as much as he can, bulking himself up, trying to hit the ball as far as he can, but is not as accurate perhaps as he would like to be.
I'll tell you one thing when it comes to all this, I just would absolutely wish that we'd spend a little more time talking about the good side of athletes, but that ain't going to happen. It's just not normal for this whole society. I'm going to go ahead and try and bring on our next guest here and our featured guest for today, who I believe has joined us here, and actually he has not. He's having a little connection problem right now. But before we bring him on, I want to tell you about him. I have read so many of his books over the years, and I know that many of you have as well. Because when it comes to writing about sports, but specifically about baseball, Peter Golenbach has owned that genre here in America for many years. He's written a book about racing. He's written many other books, but he is what I consider to be the preeminent author in America when it comes down to baseball. He's a Rays fan. Okay. And he's a Lightning fan. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and give him that one as a big hockey fan, but I'm definitely going to let him have that one because look, the way this team is played right now, he deserves and that team deserves all the accolades it can get right now. Peter Golenbach is our special guest here on Free for All today. Peter, good to see we got everything set up, my friend. How are you?
We do, thank you.
Okay, yeah, I could see it. I'm going, oh my God, I hope everything works real soon. I hope everything works. It's what we got to hope for on these damn live shows. Before we go any further, I want to make sure I get this in here. You have out of all the books that you've had, the marvelous books that you've done, you have a new book that is going to be coming out. So I thought you'd like to just go ahead and mention it when the book comes out and tell us about it.
Yes. Let's see. I got to go this way.
There you go. Well, you got to, yeah. And for those who can't see, you have a Bobby Valentine bobblehead in your hand.
Yes, I do.
Is that? And I guess that's the hint, right?
That's the hint. The book is called Valentine's Way. And it's the autobiography of Bobby Valentine. when I was in high school, I went to Rippleham High School to see a baseball game. And they had this 9th grader playing shortstop for Rippleham High School. It was Bobby Valentine. The kid was an amazing prospect.
So,
and he should.
Why Bobby Valentine as the focus of a book?
Because you want the most interesting. That's controversial in a way, but interesting more than anything else, and honest. You know, it's funny, when we started this project, I sent him a copy of Andre Agassi's autobiography, which is my favorite autobiography written by a sports personality, because it was so incredibly honest. Ball 4 by Jim Bouton was an honest autobiography. One of the reasons it's so beloved. And I wanted Bobby to understand that he should be sort of the best Bobby he could possibly be. And he did that. I'm just sort of in awe of the information that he has provided for this book. It's really stunning.
And you also have another book which you and I talked about, Whispers of the Gods, which is going to be coming up far down the road.
That's coming in late January, early February. And that's really, you know, over the last 40 years, I've been doing interviews with so many interesting baseball players. And my favorite baseball book, sort of the Bible to me, is The Glory of Their Times by Larry Ritter, who I became very close to latter part of his life. And what Larry did in that book is he traveled the country and he interviewed the great ball players from the 1910s. Sam Crawford, who was Ty Cobb's, you know, played next to him in the outfield. You know, his fabulous names from the 10s and the 1920s, people who played with Babe Ruth and so forth and so on. And I've always cherished the glory of their times. And I decided that I had enough material that I could write a sequel to it. And so I've got interviews with people like Stan Musial, Ted Williams, Roy Campanella, Jim Bouton, you know, wonderful Phil Rizzuto is in there. You know, fabulous people who tell, you know, really wonderful stories about their lives in baseball.
You and I are a lot alike when it comes down to interviews, because what we look for and what you look for as an author and what I look for as an interviewer are fascinating stories, interesting stories, to dig in a little bit into the individual and find out more about them that might not be so publicly known. It's part of our job to dig and dig respectfully. Sometimes it's not very respectful. People get a little unhappy with us when we dig for information. And out of all of these athletes that you've spoken with over the years, which one called you on the phone? No, just kidding. Out of all those athletes that you've talked to, see, even Gene Marola, my friend, the comedian, he goes, I'm going to steal that line. Out of all these guys and athletes you've talked to, which one, can you pick one that you asked a question of and hit you with an answer that even you had to kind of lean back a little in your chair and go, that I did not expect?
Absolutely. And that was Mickey Mantle. I went to see Mickey. It was funny. This was for my book, Dynasty. And Mickey had agreed to see me in his home in Dallas. So I flew to Dallas and I called from the airport to speak to him. And his wife picked up the phone and said, Mickey's in New York. So I had to stay overnight, catch the next plane to New York, where I met him in the Yankees clubhouse. And he knew I was coming, though it was funny. I was too in awe to go up to him. So I asked Ellie Howard, Ellie, would you please introduce me to Mickey? And he said, sure. So Ellie introduced the two of us, and I said, Mickey, can I talk to you for a few minutes? And Mickey, that imp that he is, looked at me with a straight face and he went, "No." And then, of course, he smiled and we talked. And he was, I just loved the guy. He was unbelievably honest. So this was in 1973, and he had retired in 1968. And I asked him about what it was like to be no longer a player. And he began to tell me about the nightmares that he had, where he would be lying in bed in the middle of the night, and he could hear the PR announcer announcing, "Now batting in the third position, number 7, Mickey Mantle." And he would be standing outside Yankee Stadium, and he would not be able to find the door to get into the stadium. And he told me that he would wake up in a cold sweat. I was just floored by that.
When you got a chance to talk to him further, did he ever warm up? I mean, to where he was that Midwestern kid, or was he always on guard? Because I understand Mickey was always on guard when he was around everybody.
Well, it's funny. You know, Michael Burke, who was the president of the Yankees at the time, had written a letter for me to the ball players. So when I spoke to Mickey, he was not on guard at all. I mean, maybe that's why. Maybe it's my scintillating personality. I don't know. But he was very, very open with me, very warm. It seemed like he was happy to have me talk to him when we were talking. And he was absolutely fabulous. He really was. The other one who really struck me was Roger Maris. Roger had not been treated well the last few years of his days as a Yankee. Roger was a very, very private guy. I had written to him, got no answer. I went to Gainesville to his beer distributorship. He wasn't there. So basically, I had the feeling that, maybe Roger was going to stiff me. The only one who ever stiffed me was Joe DiMaggio. And he stiffed me.
For whatever reason, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, right. And he stiffed me because he stiffed everybody.
Yes.
Because he was always so afraid that somebody would ask him about Marilyn Monroe.
Which is fair.
With Roger, I don't know. I wasn't having any success. So I was down in Atlanta where I was interviewing Clete Boyer. And Clete, who was a lovely guy, he had a bar. And he said the Golden Glove was his bar. And Clete said to me, "I'll meet you at 9 o'clock in the morning at my bar." So I drove there, and at 9 o'clock in the morning, I ordered a root beer, and I sat at the bar, and I sat at the bar, and sat at the bar until 9 o'clock at night, when Clete walked in with Roger Maris. And it was amazing. It was just amazing to me. And so Roger and I sat down at a table. Clete said, "Excuse me, I got a few things that I got to do." So Roger and I are sitting across from each other, and I didn't want to say to Roger, "Can I talk to you?" Because I was afraid that if he said no, that it would ruin our night. So basically, what do you say to Roger Maris? How have you been? How you doing? I mean, it's uncomfortable. And Roger saw that, and he said to me, "Let's go outside and we can talk." And we did. And he's one of the interviews in this Whispers of the Gods book. He was, again, incredibly open about what had happened to him. Ralph Houck was the general manager, and in one of the years, 66, I believe it was, he had slid into home plate and caught his hand on the umpire's cleats and broken his hand. And the Yankees took x-rays of his hand, but they never told him his hand was broken. They needed him to play because the Yankees were in free fall and they needed his celebrity to draw fans. And so they never told him his hand was broken. And the other thing, of course, with Roger is that when he told Houck that he was going to retire, Houck said to him, please don't do it now. Wait until the spring and we can have a day for you. And so Roger went, yeah, okay, I can do that. And about a week later, the Yankees traded Roger to the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh.
And Roger didn't want to quit then because he had a feeling that now the Cardinals fans were going to say, oh, that Roger Maris, look at that guy. So Roger played 2 more years and helped lead the Cardinals to pennants in 1967 and 1968. The guy was, I don't know why he's not in the Hall of Fame. Spectacular ball player. His only problem was that he didn't get along with the press.
Quite frankly, here in 2021, I don't have a problem with that because a lot of the press that's out there doesn't deserve the respect of anybody getting along with them. So the book is Whispers of the Gods. It comes out in 2022. We'll watch. We'll definitely talk to you by then. So let me bring everybody else in here. It's good to see that Gene hasn't fallen asleep yet. Has to be just a brutal moment for here. So, all right, everybody has their moment here, Peter. We've been talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Jimmy went off on the Lightning. Gene and I, we talked about Ohtani and Stephen A. Smith. But the part of the free-for-all is, this now is your shot here. It doesn't make a difference what it is, Peter. Go for it. What's sitting on your craw today?
What's sitting in my craw more than anything else is that the only way that I can go to a Tampa Ray baseball game is if I buy tickets on my goddamn cell phone.
Bravo. Whatever happened to paper tickets, damn it?
Peter,
whatever happened to walking up to the window and saying, I'd like to buy 2 tickets to the game? You can't do it.
Wait a minute. So you can't walk up and buy tickets?
No. Do you know why there are no African Americans at these ball games?
Why?
I suspect it's because they don't have cell phones. Because you can't get in if you don't have a cell phone.
Well, everybody's got cell phones these days, Peter.
Not everybody.
Peter,
I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have a cell phone until I found out I had to get a cell phone to buy a goddamn ticket.
Peter, this is Gene Marola.
Gene.
Very nice to meet you. This is
A
where
pleasure.
my wife yells to me, "What are you doing? Hey kids, get off my grass." Welcome to my world.
I mean, you do have to think. I mean, Peter, I understand it, but there are people who are going to watch this and see it again. They're going to go, "Oh, come on!"
Come on, what?
What's the big deal? So you gotta have a smartphone.
You do? Why? Why do you have to?
Because they don't want to do paper tickets anymore.
Stupid people. You need smartphones for stupid people.
Guys, are you sure though? Is this just due to COVID for now, or is this like permanent?
Well, yeah, that's a question. I don't know.
This is permanent. And what does
I don't
COVID
know.
have to do with it
I think it might just be
Wear a
because
mask and buy
they're
a
easing
ticket.
back in.
Well, but for COVID, what they were doing is they were taking paper tickets away because they didn't want to have the contact between people.
Exactly, yeah.
And they didn't want you close. So now you get your ticket and you get to show it and you walk inside.
Go have a vaccine, buy a ticket.
Look out. Dr. Fauci's on the phone for you right now, as a matter of fact. I think he's saying,
Peter, can you hear me, Peter? Oh, Peter, I'm calling. Hey, buddy. Listen,
how are you?
Listen, I feel your pain. I totally feel it.
I know.
Ed's got a rotary phone with a flip phone with a rotary dial.
It's a good idea. I have a rotary phone too. But if that's the worst thing that happens, look, how can you bitch about that? Because you got, look, it's a title town. You got 2 Stanley Cups. You got an NFL championship. And you got a smartphone in your hand. So what's wrong?
I do. Look at that. And it makes noise.
Okay, and you buy a ticket off it. You buy a ticket, Peter.
I'll tell you what really bothers me. I've been a season ticket holder for 15 years, okay? And these season tickets, I pay $1,400 for 81 games. I sit up in the 300 section in the second row.
That's the crime right there.
There you go. Now, they say to me, sorry, you got to pay through the nose for tickets this year because of COVID or some damn reason. And so I'm paying 3 times as much as what I paid for tickets last year as I am now.
Wait a minute. They don't, because you're a noted best-selling author, they don't give you tickets?
I've never asked for tickets.
I didn't say ask for tickets. I said, look, Jimmy Murphy gets tickets. You get free hockey tickets, don't you, Jimmy?
I don't get bumpkins.
Now, he was a football player. That guy, Butkus, was a great football player. Now you're talking football.
Well, Gene, I'm doing a book right now with Larry Zonka.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
I played racquetball with him in Fort Lauderdale back in the day, Peter. I used to have a nightclub, and I couldn't see the front wall of the racquetball court for his back. An immense man, an immense person, but a great guy. Oh my gosh, I have such respect for you. Not so much for the other 2 guys, but you. No, I look at your book. The Bronx Zoo. Come on already. When you mention guys like Clete Boyer, you mention guys like Mickey Mantle. You're talking. When I'm a kid. That's Roger Maris. I have such an affection for those guys. My favorite player, because I played second base, was Bobby Richardson. That was the guy. My go-to guy. And
I went to Bobby Richardson's house. I went to Bobby Richardson's house. He says to me, do you play ping pong? I go, of course. Who doesn't play ping pong? I play ping pong. So we play ping pong. Bobby Richardson beats me 21-1. Whoa. It turns out Bobby Richardson was the ping pong champion of the state of South Carolina.
Oh, my gosh. No money on that. Was there any money on it?
No money. No.
Oh,
no
good thing. Does his hand still hurt from when what's his name? The kid from the Giants hit that line drive to him end the World Series.
Yes. McCovey's line drive.
His hand has still got to hurt.
Yes. His hand still hurt. Yes.
It's got to.
So let me do this because Peter, we talked about this before we had you on.
Kubek's neck when he got hit in the neck in the Pirates World Series. Tony Kubek got hit in the neck.
Tony Kubek? Tony Kubek played baseball? Wasn't he just a commentator?
He did. He was a shortstop.
Just kidding.
He was our shortstop.
God.
I know.
These kids, I'm telling you.
It's before my time. Look, I'll tell you what. Before we even go anyplace else, you know what's the toughest thing is that no one really talks about much is with regard to baseball, hockey, football, basketball, I don't care what sport it is. And I will engender a lot of bad feelings from this, but I won't bring up any names. A lot of the announcers, quite frankly, that are being hired these days for games are not that good. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Jimmy's, we know that because there's some great announcers. I mean, I love hearing Andy Brickley do commentary on a Bruins game, and Doc Emmerich doing the Stanley Cup games and hockey games when he was there. And, look, people complain about him constantly, but I like Jack Buck. I'm sorry. I think Jack Buck does one hell of a job, and he gets grief from people for whatever reason because he's not his father. I'm sorry?
Everybody loves Jack Buck.
No, they don't.
What are you saying? No, you're talking about Joe Buck. You're saying Joe Buck.
Or Joe Buck. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Joe Buck. I apologize.
And it's Jack Buck.
But people give Joe Buck
all worried about you, Ed.
because he's not his father. And I think that's unfair. We've gone past the age of really great play-by-play people. And we've just got a lot of people who are spitting out nonsense. It's not fun anymore.
Well, they try to fire him.
Tampa Bay people. Tampa Bay team has wonderful, wonderful announcers. Andy and Dave on the radio are just terrific, and BA and Schmegegi are really excellent. Also, I mean, it depends what city you're in. Yeah. So we're very lucky here in Tampa Bay.
Well, in Boston, they changed the announcers. I mean, Jimmy, haven't they rotated the announcers around in Boston right now with the Red Sox? You don't know who's calling the games anymore.
Oh, yeah. Well, they always have the main guy. Why am I drawing a blank right now? This shows you how much I was out of baseball for a while.
We're all drawing a blank because we're over 65 years old and we can't fucking remember anything.
We're not. No, we're not. Wait a minute. This side of the screen is not over 65.
But no, they do rotate the color guys. It's like every 4 games is a different guy.
Castigliano doesn't do it anymore.
No, well, Castiglione's there, but they've been phasing him out. They're phasing him out pretty much.
What a
Pete, I
shame.
just want to know you. So you're a Rays guy. So who's going to do the French side for the Rays?
The front side?
I don't know if he gets where I'm going with this, but
I have no idea. Keep going.
The French,
well,
the French side.
you know, there's strong talk that at least half the season for the Rays next year will be played in Montreal, and furthermore,
next season.
past that, they're going to move to Montreal. So
2028.
yeah,
The
I
people
don't
who
know. I
made-
think it's coming
The
sooner
people
than that.
who made the contract
coming
with the
sooner.
Rays-
That's ridiculous. I mean, come on. Hey, Peter,
bring back the
let's-
Expos. Bring
let's
back
be
the
honest.
Expos.
You and I both know, Peter, if we're just going ahead and not tell anybody else, it'd just be between the four of us right now, the Tampa Bay
Right.
Rays will not last in Tampa Bay. You know that.
Yes.
I'm not saying because I don't like them, but look, first of all, they play in an old toxic waste dump land.
It's
Spaceship.
not old. It's not toxic.
It's a
It's not a
spaceship.
waste dump.
Sure
It's
it was.
beautiful.
Sure it
It's
was.
a lovely place to play, and
Ted-
it's 72 degrees, and it's a wonderful stadium.
It's a
I don't know
tuna
what.
can. It's one of the ugliest places in the world to see a baseball
Oh,
game.
stop it! It's not ugly at all. There's nothing.
Hey, wait
ugly.
a minute, guys. Excuse me. That stadium just happens to be just a little bit outside of Florida, and it's not that hard to get to.
Yeah, that's right. That's
But
for
see,
sure.
you and I know that there's baseball fans in Tampa, yourself, and I'm not trying to cast aspersions on
We're not
Tampa
knocking
Bay
the
fans,
Rays.
but they're gonna move. The ownership, they're not gonna get a ballpark unless they build one.
Peter, I
Well,
like
they
the Rays.
wanted. They wanted a ballpark. They wanted a ballpark in Tampa. And they said they wanted $800 million. So the mayor of St. Petersburg gave Tampa 3 years to raise $800 million. At the end of 3 years, they raised $19 million.
And what does that tell you? I mean,
That
look.
tells you that they're either staying in St. Petersburg or they're moving to Las Vegas.
Well,
Montreal.
exactly. They're going to move
Or
because in this,
Memphis,
The
or
A's
San
will go to
Diego.
Vegas and they'll go to Montreal. That's my prediction.
but that's very possible. I mean, but the whole thing goes here when it comes to any stadium. I don't care what sport it is. Either the franchise pays for the stadium or you don't play in it. I'm sick and tired of them. Look, we're in South Florida here, and they
no
suckered.
franchise,
They
no
suckered.
franchise has ever paid for any stadium.
But it needs to happen
doesn't
because,
work
for
that
instance,
way.
here in Fort Lauderdale, here in Miami, they suckered the taxpayers here, and they're going to be
You know
stuck
what
with that
extortion
stadium
is?
now
Yeah,
for the rest of their
yeah.
lives.
And
Yeah.
do you know what extortion is? Do you know
Yes.
the term extortion?
Yes, I do.
Extortion.
Yes, it
That's
is.
what it is. Extortion. And it works. You know how many
Yeah.
teams threatened to come to Tampa Bay after our stadium was built and it was empty? There was
Dozens.
Chicago. There was San Francisco. There was Texas. There was Detroit. All of these teams were going to come to Tampa Bay unless those cities made them new ballparks,
Which they all did.
every single one of them did.
Which they all did.
So, so we'll see.
But see, I would love to go see a baseball game. The only time I have ever stepped foot into Marlin Stadium was when Gene took us. Gene, you had one time we went to see you. You said, "Come on." We went.
I
mean,
love
come on.
Marlin Stadium.
I'm a media guy. They're free tickets. I don't care.
Marlin Stadium is beautiful. It's a beautiful stadium.
It's a beautiful park in a crappy place. That's
Well, it's a
difficult.
crappy place. You park your car, you go
Difficult
inside.
to
what do you
get to.
care?
It's a nightmare to get in and out of because of the
Oh,
heavy
stop
traffic
it.
there.
Oh,
But see, there's a difference here. I won't go, and I will not go to a Marlins game, just out of principle. That's all.
well, the
I'd love to
Marlins,
go.
the Marlins would say, so don't come.
Stay home. I know that. That's
Stay
exactly
home.
right.
You might say, watch the game on TV, in which case we'll make
No.
money from television, which is what they're doing in St. Petersburg.
Which is why I
Already-
watch Nesson. Which is why I get my Red Sox feed.
Jimmy, is Eckersley still doing baseball?
He's one of the guys in the rotation still. Yeah.
He's still
like him.
pitching.
I think he's good.
He's still pitching for the Red Sox.
Eck should be the full-time guy. I mean, see,
No,
that's
I like
nothing.
Eck.
He should be the
And I
full-time
don't care
coach.
what anyone says. I still take his side against David Price. I don't care that David Price won a World Series. It was still a horrible thing what he did to Eck.
Okay. All right, so here we go. We have reached the end of our normal hour. We try to go 60. So before we get out of here, I'm going to give everybody a shot on one last thing that you can throw out there into the mix. Anything, everything. I don't care. Go for it. because we've been mostly talking sports today, and I expected that with this team. But knowing Mr. Golenbach and some of the conversations we've had, you surprised me, Peter. I thought you were going to go off on a real tear today.
Well, my wife said to me that if I talk politics, everybody will turn the show off and nobody will listen, and they will all hate you. So I decided not to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Smart. Well, that's the problem here. We can't talk politics even though we need to. So I'll give everybody one shot.
I will tell you one thing. That the Republican Party is trying to destroy our country. Aside from that, I won't say another word.
Amen.
Let's see.
Well, I have to disagree. I don't think the Republican Party exists.
That may be
said too.
Okay, let's call it the Nazi Party then. The Nazi Party is trying to destroy our country.
There we go.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. We just lost. It's like if you could hear dials clicking around the world right now.
Oh, I love it.
Okay. Thanks for shopping, Mr. Marola. You lost the the coin toss at the beginning, so I will let you have the first shot here to go ahead and give us our parting shot.
I want to find out who the fuck, and I beg your pardon when I said who, are the politically correct police, and why on earth do we fucking listen to them? I want to know when you take a song like "Baby It's Cold Outside" and make it about rape. When you take a Christmas song about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and say, "Hey, this is about bullying." Who are these people who are so stupid, insecure? And then there must. I'm thinking. My thought is that like there are 12 of them. And why do we listen to these assholes? We don't need their opinion, and that pisses me off big time that we have this politically correct police out there. I'm just livid about that stuff.
Mr. Murphy, I am going to come to you momentarily, but Mr. Golenbach, I will let you go ahead and throw a parting shot in here.
All right, here's what I don't understand. We have a political party who's telling people not to get vaccinated, even though we know that if you get vaccinated, it will save you from dying. So the question is, why is this political party wanting people to die? What do they get out of it? And what I think is happening is that they think that if enough people die, then our economy will go into the tank. And if our economy goes into the tank, then the Republicans will take over the Congress in 2022 and perhaps the presidency again in 2024. So they are exchanging people's lives for political gain.
Mr. Murphy, you come in and take the cleanup spot today. Your parting shot.
Yikes.
Yeah, you really wanted to follow this crew, didn't you?
Yeah. Look, I agree with everything all of you guys just said, but I'm not going to end it on a political note. I'm going to go back to sports. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to go to comedy, and I'm kind of going to shovel back if I can bring Gene back in here. And I just, who's the best comedian ever in your eyes?
Wow, I'm a big fan of, believe it or not, of Steve Martin. I think Steve Martin was brave enough to be silly, and because he would have his arrows in his head, and he would do silly stuff, but he did it initially wearing tie-dye shirts. He put on a white three-piece suit, did the same act, and became like a member of the community, and he got more people listening to him. I love his movies. I love his comedy, and now to say the best of all time is an overstatement, of course. But I really, my personal opinion, I like his silliness, if you will.
Okay, so he's got Steve Martin. Peter, I'm going to come to you in a moment on this. So, all right, Mr. Murph, who's your favorite comic of all time?
Robin Williams. Robin Williams.
Why? Other than the obvious.
yeah, exactly. I love. I mean, it's God rest his soul, but I loved how he was able to take like most comedians do. I just thought he did a great job of taking some serious topics and bringing humor to it, and yet getting a message across. And I love when a comedian can do that, when through humor he's getting the message across, like you guys just did with your political points. You made some very, very strong, serious points, all of which I agree with, but at the same time, you made me crack up, and you made it easier to absorb, and that's what I love about a comedian.
Mr. Golenbach, favorite comic of all time?
My favorite comedian is Woody Allen. He has a 2-record set I could listen to over and over and over again. I had about 800 records, and I sold my entire collection, and the one album that I kept was Woody Allen's 2-record set. He is just hilarious, and of course, for 40 years, he's written some of the most brilliant movies that you've ever seen. But when he says something like, I was kidnapped, and my parents, they jumped into action. They rented out my room.
But
Peter,
okay.
wait a minute. Can I follow up on that?
Go
Because
ahead.
I know that album. He said his father, Woody Allen's father, got the ransom note, and my father has very poor reading habits. He fell asleep reading the ransom note. He fell asleep reading his son's ransom note.
How about I shot a moose?
Oh, yes! And it was on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's illegal to bring a moose into New York City.
That's right. I know the joke was on them because it's restricted.
It's restricted.
I got to bring this up because now you've opened a Pandora's box here, which I just want to get into briefly. I get it about Woody Allen, and he's got some of the most amazing hysterical films. I mean, Annie Hall still is an incredible film. Love and Death, to me, when I saw it, was a movie where almost every single frame was fall down laughing in that movie.
Bananas, take the money and run.
However,
Midnight in Paris.
can you still be a fan of Woody Allen knowing what we know now? And after Mia Farrow came out and spoke about what happened, and we know what happened with his children, can you still be a fan of Woody Allen at that point, knowing who he was?
I don't believe her.
Okay.
I have a different. I think you can. I was at a Bill Cosby show in Las Vegas. He made me laugh so hard my stomach hurt. He was very funny. He was a pioneer. He talked about his family, and there wasn't, you have to be black, white, whatever. You understood his dentist jokes. You understood when he was talking about his wife and the kids and all that stuff. And what he did later on, to me, it doesn't take away what I laughed at. It takes away from now on. But that's.
But Gene, I think you said it right there. It doesn't take away from the content, what you laughed at, but does it take away from him? And I'm with that. I think it does. I can't ever look at him the same way. I maybe can look at his content, but I can't look at him the same way. If that makes sense.
No, I wouldn't do him. And there's several other comedians. Fatty Arbuckle, for instance, back in the day he had issues. Everyone does have issues, and I would never stand up or defend what Bill Cosby did. And he got off on a technicality, and I feel so sorry for those women who came out, the brave women who came out, and to dishonor him. It was well deserved. I'm not a fan of him. I'm a fan of his material.
But you just brought up the point and Bill Cosby's a prime example here. I laughed at Cos 2 my entire life. I mean, Why Is There Air was one of the great albums of all time. To Russell, my brother, whom I slept with. I remember listening to those as a kid. It was one of my first experiences with comedy. But I won't listen to him now. I won't listen to one comedy bit. Nobody plays him anymore. I won't watch anything on his shows because to me he's a reprehensible human being who destroyed every memory I have of him. And unfortunately, it's the same thing about Woody Allen to me. And there's another part of this when it comes down to what we learn, which is an interesting facet here. Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, one of the greatest performers of all time. I threw out every single CD. I deleted every single song I have with Michael Jackson on it on all of my platforms immediately because this guy is a pedophile. No two ways about it. I got rid of it. I got rid of look, I loved Ted Nugent. Okay?
Yes.
The
Right.
the first album from Ted Nugent was one of the most screamingly great guitar rock and roll albums of all time. The guy's an absolute screaming asshole, whack job, nut job, far right propagandist, disinformation specialist. Boom. Everything I got is now gone. I don't listen to him. I won't at all. So how do we then enjoy the humor of these people, knowing who they are? I find it impossible.
I can't.
How do you feel about the pitcher with the bloody sock?
Roger Clemens, not Clemens. I'm sorry, Kurt Schilling's a cheat.
Kurt Schilling.
Kurt Schilling's
Kurt
a
Schilling
cheat.
is nuttier than your guy.
But even past his right wing stuff, which I think is reprehensible indeed, and of course he ripped off the people of Rhode Island in a tax deal.
He sure did.
With a gaming platform which never went anywhere, and allegedly he knew it was going to fail, and he knew that he was going to cash in, but it cost him anyway. The whole bloody sock. Come on, stop.
Yeah.
We can get into that another time. Look at Peter knows. Jimmy, we were there when it all happened. We watched it. The bloody sock was bullshit.
That was just him because he's an attention-starved little whore, and he just needs to have the attention and steal away from Pedro Martinez or David Ortiz or any other guys that really got them to that point.
Yes.
He just completely tried to hijack the spotlight there. I remember my dad watching it, talking to my dad about it. He's like, look at this fraud. Spare me. As the game was going on, he's like, hey, come on. Spare us the drama here. We know who the star is here. And that's just Kurt Schilling. His true colors really came out after his career, but I'd never liked the guy.
Well, but I think that's part of it too, because we're in a situation right now where we're finding out more about the people that we honored, the people that we liked, the people that we enjoyed.
It's kind of depressing. It really is.
You know, if it happens.
Did you know that Francis Scott Key owned slaves?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
So,
Isn't that amazing?
So what?
Well, in 1812.
Oh, we're going long today, kids. This one's not going away.
All right. In 1812.
Can I go get wine right now? Is that all right? No.
Yeah, you can
Hang on.
get some wine.
In 1812, the British said, if any of you African American slaves come and join us, we will free you. And so 30,000 slaves went and joined the British in their fight against the United States in the War of 1812. And Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, and in the fourth verse, he talks about the importance of keeping slaves. So think again when you listen to the Star-Spangled Banner about the guy who wrote this thing.
Well,
I get it, Peter. But the Yankees have stopped using Ethel Merman singing "God Bless America" because in before Christ was born, she sang something that could have been misconstrued as
Kate
racist.
Smith, not Ethel Merman.
That's
Kate Smith.
stupid. I'm sorry, Kate Smith.
Kate
Do
Smith.
you ever see them together?
See, it's so
Did you ever
easy
see
to get them confused.
I think they're the same people. The Beatles were asked, "Who's your favorite group?" And they said Ethel Merman. I swear to God, look it up. Listen to I got what I tell you who. I'm sorry. I'm getting heated. I got to take my medication.
20 years.
Honey, I'll be right there. Okay, so here's you talk about how can you separate the two. Woody Allen's movie Bananas opens up with an assassination of a Latin American president, and it being by Howard Cosell is covering it. This is Howard Cosell covering the assassination of El Presidente, and now he's talking, and Howard Cosell hears the shot, and he rushes to the podium. This is El Presidente. Move away. This is American TV. El Presidente, tell me please, how do you feel about the dictatorship taking over? And the president, he puts the mic down to the guy's face, and he goes, and Cosell says, "Well, of course you're upset."
As a Cosell impersonation, that was a great Pat Summerall. But here's the end question to it all: is
Jimmy, can he borrow your hat? Put your hat on Ed. Could you do that? Just raise your put that holy
any hat.
that.
He's got some sexy hair, man. I don't know.
Put that-
Ed's got the hair. He's still got the hair.
Oh,
You might as well
yeah.
fool it. You know?
It looks real.
That's what I thought you'd say. But here's a better question. We still laugh. We look back and we think, Bill Cosby stuff was hysterical. Woody Allen's was hysterical. Michael Jackson was a great performer. Whatever you want to call it. Should a society hold us to scorn, anybody to scorn, if we say, Bill Cosby's a real shit, and he's absolutely a guy who deserved every nickel that he got in prison and deserved more, and he's a guy who was a predator. We say that. But when I listened to him, he was funny. And there were people who will say, how dare you? How can you do that? Look at what the man did right now. You should know better, and you should leave him alone, and you should never listen to him again, and he should never be part of anything that you, in any way, shape, or form, talk about in a positive sense. What do you do?
I'll tell you why. Because we are humans, and we are able to walk and chew gum at the same time. The two things can exist in a parallel world. Why do we have to have I don't have to justify my liking Woody Allen's movies or Bill Cosby's comedy. I don't have to justify that to anybody. I know who I am to myself, and I say fuck those people who feel as though they have to control my thoughts and my emotions.
Amen.
Gentlemen, anything to follow? No, Murph is on the line. It's okay. He's already there.
Well, I say something. I look. That is your prerogative. Doesn't mean I have to agree with it, though, right?
Right. No,
just
it
because
doesn't.
I disagree. I'm not telling you what to do, Gene. You believe whatever you want. I said through our conversation we have a lot of like-minded opinions, maybe differ on some things, but that's your prerogative. And I don't think we should be able to tell people that, but should we be able to critique it? Yes,
absolutely.
I think you should be able to critique it, but what we're also talking about here then is the ability that is now gone in this country where you can no longer have a civil discussion based on anybody. Right. If Gene believes in left and I believe in right, if Gene thinks it's black and Jimmy thinks it's white, it doesn't make a difference. It better be pink, it better be a mix, and you better do this or you have to come over to my side.
Except if we're dealing in facts. Except if we're dealing in facts. So when somebody, straight out says, you didn't say that, Gene. I think we're on the same page. You believe that COVID is real. But if you came right out right now and said COVID is fake, so the vaccine doesn't work, XYZ, I would totally call you out. I'm sorry, because I'm not going to let people sit there and keep telling that lie and preventing us from making more progress and getting out of this twilight zone that we're in.
And well-deserved, Jimmy. Well-deserved. That's exactly right. We should be able to say that. And how could you look at a video and tell me what I'm seeing? You're telling me I don't see the cop being beat up. You're telling me that I don't see the spray on the bear spray going on. I'm not seeing the flag hitting the cop. And then you're telling me that you're Blue Lives Matter? Bullshit. Yeah. You don't care about blue lives.
Exactly. Totally with you, man. As long as if it's facts and you're trying to make something that's not a fact, then you rightfully should be called out and you should be told, no, this is false. And enough of this. I mean,
totally. I like to address Peter.
Just one more thing. I sometimes I find myself go down these rabbit holes in the comment sections on Facebook, and I wish I never did it, but sometimes I do it. And what
that's your first fault right there is you let yourself go down those social media rabbit holes. That's the worst place to go.
It is. And I admit it. And I need to correct that fault of mine. But when I'm in there and I see people say, or you're just fear mongering when you tell us COVID's real, or you tell us that COVID isn't done and we haven't moved on. So anything that you disagree with is me trying to make you afraid. And furthermore, you try to act like these people try to act like they're so tough, and yet they're telling us that we're trying to aren't you sort of the snowflake here and not me? Because you're the one that's scared of what I'm saying, and you can't even admit that it's real because you're so scared. So that's all I got to say on that.
Okay, and they got that what about syndrome. The what about syndrome drives me crazy.
Whataboutism has destroyed this country right now, and that's why my initial idea of doing this show is I want to bring diverse people together, talk about it, and at least, as I've said in the promotions I've done for this, no propaganda. I just won't allow it. Because
if you don't mind, I like to address Peter. He had that doll going across the screen.
Only if Peter would like you to address him. He has to give you his permission.
All right, okay, undress him. Take it.
I lose control so quickly.
Peter, I don't recognize. He's in a disguise. He's in the dugout in a disguise. I don't recognize him.
There's a story behind that.
Tell
me the story.
That's
Bobby Valentine.
Bobby Valentine. That's who that is. The manager of the Mets. led them to the World Series in 2000. You know, too, the last job he ever had was the manager of the Boston Red Sox, 2012.
And, you know, a lot of people around here hate him, Peter, and they criticize him. Did he make mistakes?
They don't know. They don't know
but
why.
I don't blame him for that
gotta
time
read the
frame.
book to find out why you should hate him.
D, there it is. Wait a minute. That's what this show's all about. There it is. The promotion.
There
There it is. And I will read it because I think I
Yes.
know where you're going with it. To me, it's ownership. The ownership of the Red Sox. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not grateful for what they did when they turned them around. And yes, they played a role in bringing that World Series here, but they are so corrupt and so full of it. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
And to me, he was a complete scapegoat. I don't know about you, but I feel for Bobby Valentine. I didn't agree with a lot of the things he said all the time or a lot of the moves he made, but I really felt like he was a scapegoat.
Wait till you read the inside of how he was that scapegoat.
All
It's
right.
absolutely
I look forward to it.
unbelievable. They traded away their 4 best players in August. They gave them away. They finished the season like 9-32, something like that.
Yeah.
After they promised him that he would have at least 2 years. The first year, don't worry about it. The second year, we'll make it up to you. And at the end of the year, they fired him. After trading away all of their good players.
Yeah,
So,
I
by
just-
the way,
I
when
hate-
is
I hate
the
to see management.
let's go ahead
Go
and get
ahead.
to this end because my dogs are going to want dinner any minute now, and they're going to say,
Yes, they are.
you spent all this time with Marola? Oh, my God. Peter, let's go to you first. The book is coming out. You have your book about Bobby Valentine that's coming out. You also have Whispers of the
Valentine's
Gods. Tell us
Way.
about that.
Valentine's Way, Post Hill Press, coming in October. And in fact, if you want to pre-order it, you can go on Amazon now and pre-order it. In other words, you pay all your money now, and we'll get interest for about 3 months, and then you'll get your book in October.
I guess the only thing that I have to ask at this point is because I'm a member of the press still, do we still get free books?
Never.
Come on.
At least an autograph.
We lived for that. I want a Peter
I don't even have
Golenbach.
free book.
I want a press copy sent to me signed by Peter Golenbach.
Okay.
Guys,
You
trust
got
me
it.
in this because all of us, I mean, Jimmy and I and Peter, but Jimmy and I have been in the media. Ask for the freebies every single chance you get. You
Oh,
never
yeah.
know when you're going to get them because we
Yeah,
can't get.
sometimes
Pat Jordan was my mentor. I went to the 1980 World Series with Pat Jordan, and he showed me. He went into this drugstore and he got 24 cigars and charged it to Sport Magazine. I couldn't believe it. I'd never seen anything like that in my entire life. Pat Jordan, my hero.
Of course, if it's free, it's me. That's the way they always talk about it. Trust me on this. Jimmy knows this well. All right, Jimmy, we have Boston Hockey Now. I know you're a part of now, and I get all my Boston Bruins news from that now. BostonHockeyNow.com. You're at Murphy's Law 74. So real quick, before I let you go, and seeing as you are the hockey guy, I have to ask, what is going to be the big move by the Bruins in the offseason to finally get the damn cup back?
It's a great question there. I don't think it's going to be as big and splashy as maybe the fans
As
would
we'd like.
It's not gonna,
Yes.
Yeah, it's not going to be a shiny move. It's going to be a series of moves, and if they do it right, they're adding a good third line winger. And I wrote about that yesterday at Boston Hockey Now. A guy like Barclay Goodrow on the Tampa Bay Lightning would be great. He's gritty, he's tough, he's big, and he can put the puck in the net. Good for the third line. And then they need another top 40 defenseman on the left side, and they need a veteran goalie. And
Does David-
that's
okay,
a lot
wait
to
a
ask
minute.
for, but that's how they have a successful offseason.
Is David Krejci back and is Tuukka Rask back?
David Krejci will be back. I have no idea what to tell you on Tuukka Rask because he hasn't even had his hip surgery yet. The prognosis is he's not ready to play by April. If you're the Boston Bruins, why would you sign him to a contract right now when you don't know when he's going to be back? You don't know how the surgery is going to go. So I think that's a touch-and-go situation that could go all the way up into December.
And the new goaltender for the Boston Bruins then would be?
Darcy Kemper.
Darcy Kemper. I'm going to hold you to that. Thank God we record all this here. So don't forget, that's Murphy's Law 74, and also go to bostonhockey.now, bostonhockeynow.com. Okay, that's every now and then every now and then the dentures get loose. It's fine. Mr. Marola, then, I know that you're still performing occasionally at small street corners
Yes,
in
I am.
Fort
As a matter
Lauderdale.
of fact, I got busted one time. Big deal. You know, who hasn't? Oh my gosh! But I was very proud of the fact that I recently had performed in Manhattan. I was at the Apollo Theater, and I'm very thrilled about that.
Which I do want to point out to everybody here, because Gene actually can now say that he.
I understand. There you go, buddy. The only thing for graduation, we normally take out the bridge. Yeah, didn't get it.
Round of applause, everybody. Gene Marola plays the Apollo Theater.
Thank you very much.
Very nice.
My harmonica playing sucks and blows.
Well, you've been saying that for years. So do you have any shows coming up or anything that we else can promote here? Because I want to make you some money here, seeing as I can't pay you.
You can't pay
Jimmy
us?
can pay. Jimmy's going to send you hockey tickets one of these days. That'll be fun, and that'll take care of that. So where are you going to be?
Well, I'm sending Peter get a smartphone for us for dummies, and he's gonna enjoy that. Peter, I'll hold your hand. I'm gonna buy your book, but I would like you to sign it with your Peter. Anyway, I'm performing with my group called Old Guys Rule Comedy Tour on September 15th at the Skolnick Center in Pompano. It's a great venue, and
Come to Tampa. Come to Tampa, St. Pete.
Well, you won't pay for a ticket. Are you kidding me? You're not going to pay for me to fly up there. Peter, come on. I think
Peter, I'm sorry, but Gene's willing to come to Tampa, but you're going to have to pay with your smartphone.
Oh. Very good. Oh no!
God damn!
Why can't they make these damn numbers bigger? And I gotta tap, 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 and nothing works. What is going on? Hey,
gentlemen, thank you very much for a rollicking hour plus. I always knew I knew when I started the show saying an hour was never going to be enough with some people. We will absolutely do that. You're all great friends, so we're absolutely going to do this again. And Gene, you're still my friend no matter what happens, even though you question my hair. So it's not a big deal. Peter, good luck with the book. We'll definitely talk to you around then. Jimmy, keep a great job covering the Bruins in the National Hockey League. Gino, my best to the family. I hope everybody's good. I love you guys all, and hang tight. We'll say goodbye to you in a moment privately here when we take care of things. I have to do everything private with Gene. He never does anything in public, all right? Don't forget, you can catch us. Go to welcometothearena.com. You can find all the shows there. You can go to @BerlinerSpeaks. You can catch everything there on social media. And also, if you go to YouTube, you can find the show. Plus, we're going to be up on all the podcast platforms. All you have to do is go to your favorite platform, and you'll find us there. Just search out Ed Berliner or Man in the Arena. For Peter Golenbach, Gene Marola, Jimmy Murphy, and the whole crew, thanks so much for joining us, everybody. And make sure you do it again next time, right here on the Free For All. Rock on, true believers. I'm Ed Berliner. See ya!
You're still here?
Are you not entertained?
It's over.
All right, hey. All right, good job, guys. Let's just not come in tomorrow. Let's just take a day.
Go home.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Go.
That's all, folks.